Hey Riley besties, welcome back to the Writing with ANANEU podcast, where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, I'm really excited to be talking about how to make your book more interesting. And I know you may be clicked on this video thinking, my book's boring. I'm sure it's not. I bet your book is so cool and so interesting, but I just want to kind of like talk about, ways to kind of make your book stand out, make it more unique, because I did a little bit of research. Did I do research? I literally just looked up the meaning of interesting and it's an adjective. Oh my gosh, we're getting so scientific. Everyone knows that. And interesting means arousing curiosity or interest, holding or catching the attention of people. So essentially, this is kind of an episode to help you notice things in your book and maybe implement things in order to make your book more unique, more interesting, and to hold the attention of your readers. So let's get into it. So the first half of this episode, I'm going to be going into how to change your whole book and like things to make your whole book interesting, more general big things. And then I'm going to go into scenes and how to literally like change something really, really specific. And scenes are my favorite, so I'm really excited to be talking about that. But that's in the other half. So let's go ahead and start about and talk about how to make your book more interesting generally. Okay, so the first thing you can do is to take away detail. And you might be like, girl, what are you talking about? I need to add more detail to make it interesting. Like, I think it's really, really good also for people who hate plotting like me, who literally just don't know the details. So if you are a plotter and someone who kind of, has all these different details and like foreshadowing and like all these like historic, sort of world building aspects, like kind of, trim that down a bit. And the reason I say this is because it really, I feel like what's the word? Little is more. I think, when you're thinking about it, your reader has their own imagination, right? You can't just give it to them on a plate, or else it just really removes that sort of fantasy fiction aspect of reading. And the whole point we want to read is that you give us the bare bones, so then us as readers can imagine the rest. And I think that if you just, don't add so much detail, it allows the readers to really like, think about, the characters or the world a lot more differently to what you might say. Because you can say like, this is canon, when the reader's like, no, I don't want that. And this happens all the time where like a reader's like, I never knew that character was blonde. I always imagined him with like, brown hair. So just ease up, ease up. The second tip to make your book more interesting is to add a new character or to take a character away. I feel like, especially when you're writing your book, sometimes your characters can be very, what's the word? Like, especially in a group of characters, they can be very comfortable with each other and there's no like, new dynamic throughout the story. It just like stays the same. So if you want to make it more interesting in regards to your characters, try to either take a character away or bring a new one in. They don't have to stay there for a long time. They can get killed off. I don't know, you guys decide. But I feel like it's really interesting seeing the dynamic change and see like how the characters, view this new character or view this other character going, and like how they can go on. Just like these things are very challenging, and it's more of like a social aspect, not so much as like a physical obstacle, like, a river they can't cross. It's like a psychological thing, and it allows for more like dialogue and more things to be, discovered through the other characters and their expressions and their sort of thoughts about everything. So maybe try that. Okay, the third thing is to do something that changes the whole plot. So basically upset the reader's direction, like completely turn them upside down. And I think I was thinking about this as I was actually going to the bathroom. TMI. Basically I was like, damn, like imagine if you start your book in one genre and then throughout the book it just completely shifts and then boom, you have like a new book. And that's kind of like Project BB. It kind of is set in like a kingdom-esque sort of vibe, and it does have this sort of illusion that there is a magic system aspect, but it's basically dead because the magic is dead until it's reborn throughout the book. And I think that sort of change, that sort of like switch really does capture the audience and makes it so much more interesting. So maybe try that. The fourth thing is to foreshadow things, even if they don't end up coming into fruition. Like just foreshadow something, like little details, like add little world building or like lore aspects into your book, into your writing. Maybe your character notices something, connects with it, but it's never ever mentioned again. I feel like it's still really interesting, especially if you can draw some sort of metaphor from that particular, idea for your whole book. So it's not completely a waste of words. But even then, I'm a firm believer. Like, I hate Stephen King for saying kill your darlings. Basically like get rid of stuff from your book that doesn't serve your book. But I'm just like, girl, like, come on. Like, there's things in books that don't, like, even to you might not seem like it's, noticeably important, but still it builds the atmosphere. It surely has some sort of good significant thing that either contributes to the characters, to the plot, to the world building, to the lore, anything like that, or even the theme of the book. Every little detail counts. So I'm gonna try that. And the fifth thing is to completely destroy tropes, like literally destroy the tropes. Like redemption, like, there's a redemption arc of a character, completely like obliterate them so they die again. I don't know, or like they hate them again. Like, even as like a redemption, like, oh, that's nice, but then they're like full like swings back. Like, just think of ways that you can break the rules of tropes and find new ways to kind of create your own new tropes. So maybe try that. Okay, let's move on to scenes. So this is cut halfway through the episode. Good job for making it this far. I hope your ears aren't dead from me talking into it. Anyways, let's go into scenes. And this is my favorite part. Like, oh god. And this is literally like these 5 things are things that I do and I incorporate into my books to make them so interesting. And this also is just like a really good plotting way to literally just make things happen and call it plot, because I find it always so hard to physically create a plot. Like, I don't know what the heck's going to happen in my book. I just want to write it, but I don't know what's going to happen. So these are good things. Keep this in mind. So let's get into it. So number 1, these are like particular, like very specific things. For example, like number 1, make it rain. In your scene, make it rain, make it thunder, make there be like a huge heat wave, change something in the weather. And this helps like just, it's like a refreshing thing also for the reader. So if you're kind of just like not sure of how to take your book, or it's just kind of getting a little bit like, I don't know, dull and slow, try to change up the pace in the weather. And the weather's like a really, really easy thing to change. And it kind of like propels the story along, because if it's raining, they have to get out of the rain, they have to go to a new place. Maybe it's like raining acid, like in a new world you're writing or something like that. And they need to find a new person, like a new friend, to help them get away from the rain. It kind of propels it forward and changes and makes it more interesting. The second thing you can do is to make your characters drunk and intoxicated. This is actually so fun. Like, I love this sort of idea, because it really does reveal a lot about your characters, because they're under the influence of something else. So like, if you have a character who's kind of like brooding and very like, I don't know, like they're just not, reacting to things, and they're just very like mellow, and then as soon as they're drunk they're like woo, and it's like such a fun, like refreshing thing for the reader, and also you as the writer, to see your characters in a different place of mind, like literally in a different sort of mental space. And I think that honestly like gives your narration also something to work on, and it's very interesting trying to write your characters as drunk. And I think it's also a good like way for you to know your characters as well. So yeah, think about that. And also with that, I think it's fun because like things can be said that they don't mean, and then it kind of like further progresses like different like feelings with your characters. Like maybe 2 of your characters get drunk and they end up like kissing or something like that, and they kind of talk about it as soon as the day's over, and then it kind of like complicates things, like stuff like that. Maybe try that out. Okay, number three, let a character go missing or get a character abducted, basically. This is kind of like a good little sort of subplot that helps kind of realize, and it's kind of related to the character trope sort of thing I said before about removing a character. So if your character's in a group, one goes missing, and maybe that's the leader, how cool will it be to see the other characters, try to fend for themselves and end up, trying to rescue them. And it's also just a good opportunity to see how your characters react to these different situations and be led by themselves, and maybe that can cause a lot of like different resentment issues or like fights, which is a cool thing to think about. Okay, next up, number 4, make your character have a dream. And you might be going like, I don't know about this one. Dreams are overrated, but I feel like dreams are fun. Like, I hate dream segments in books that go on for like 4 pages. Make it short, like make it tiny, like even just like 1 paragraph or like even 4 sentences. Like make it as short as possible if you want to just like kind of add some spice. Because of course dreams, I don't really know the science behind dreams. I mean, like I feel like everyone would want to be like a scientist who studies dreams and stuff like that, but apparently dreams, reflect what you consciously want or something like that. So that can reveal something about your characters too. And it's also just like a refreshing thing and a good thing as a writer to kind of, write in a new sort of way, because dreams are kind of more mysterious. You could be more maybe like flowery with your language, and stuff like that. So maybe try that out. Okay, number 5. Yes, our last scene. Make it interesting scene thing. I don't know what I call these things, tips. Anyways, number 5 is to make your characters have a near-death scene. Yeah, that's right, a near-death scene. Basically, like, up the stakes really suddenly if it's, like, a very, like, slow part of your book, and, like, make action. Like, action is always interesting. If there's a fight scene, if there's, like, a new enemy that gets introduced, or if there's like a chase sort of scene, like make it happen. Like even if it's not really relevant to the plot, make it relevant. It will somehow, lead your characters maybe astray. Maybe they end up getting chased out of this place, and they get lost. Like these sorts of things instigate new ideas. And I think, I hope those things helped. And it just allows your characters, your plot to kind of change pace a little bit and to make your audience, hold their attention on your book, and to kind of just like new things are fun. Like, keep your readers on their feet by keeping your characters on their feet, and always make sure, just as a general tool, that your characters are moving. Make sure they're moving, traveling. Like think of The Hobbit. They're moving. They're going to Mordor. You know what I mean? Sorry, The Lord of the Rings. But anyways, that is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had so much fun brainstorming this episode, and this is like one of the episodes that I've actually planned. So I hope I wasn't too rambly and too quick spoken, because I feel like when I talk about more so non-reflective episodes like this on my podcast, where I talk about like tips and stuff like that, or like advice, I get very like quick. So I'm sorry. You can like slow me down maybe, I don't know. But anyways, I love you guys, and I hope your book is interesting after using some of these tips. Anyways, I love you and hope to see you in my next podcast episode. Bye bye.